I can do it. It's fine.
Okay.
Who wants to do
Okay.
Mary?
I can. Let me grab a paper.
Awesome. Okay. I'll wait till she gets back.
So are you are you in Idaho? Are you gonna walk the ceremony or for the
I
graduation?
am in Idaho. I don't know. I'm gonna be like 25 weeks pregnant. I'm just like not feeling like going.
Oh wow.
But I
When are
should
you
probably
due?
walk. I'm due May 1st.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm due in April.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So
You guys are close.
I
yeah.
know. That's cool.
It's fun. It's gonna be my first. Pregnancy is hard. Awful.
Yeah.
Okay, we can start. I forget we're live. Okay, my bad. Okay, so with the first one, what do you learn about persuasive speaking in Taylor Molly's speech? I'm on the right ones, right?
Yeah.
The right question. Okay.
So it was I like his speech, you know, how it started it, how instead of like lecturing about it, he actually like did it to explain to us what he wanted to, you know, to teach us or just what he was talking about, that he actually did it and like the, you know, the way he used his voice, expression, movement of his hands. I think, you know, it was good instead of just bringing like data and statistics and, you know, all that. So I think it was good using the different things that we need for a persuasive speech.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I felt like I actually watched it twice. At first I was kind of like, is he like making fun of how people I don't know. I was just like, what is happening? But he was pretty funny. And I think what I got from it was you just like, you know, stand up for what you believe in. Don't be scared to express what you believe in. And yeah, he did a really good job. It was funny.
Yeah, like Julia said, I felt like it was more engaging than like if someone was just listing off a bunch of numbers and studies. I don't know. I felt like I could pay attention to it, which sounds bad, but like when you watch a bunch of videos, sometimes you're like, ugh.
Yeah,
So
totally agree.
yeah, I feel like I could pay attention. He kept my attention, and he did it in a way that I thought was effective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for me, well, I think now that I do all those things that he said, like not being strong and feeling like I can't express myself. I'm like, I do all of those things. So it was good. I needed to hear all that.
Now that you said that, like I think sometimes when I watch our videos that we did, like I do that a lot, you know, like I like, you know, and this and like question, like you do the like a statement with a question, like I'm not sure, you know, like I do that too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I'm like, that's so embarrassing. That is exactly how I talk.
Yeah.
I just joined. I mean, Rachel just joined us.
Hi, Rochelle.
Oh, you know what? I forgot that the teacher mentioned that for this video we should introduce ourselves so she can relay our faces with our names.
Oh,
So
really?
you wanna do that before we continue?
sure.
Okay.
So
So just say her.
Julia Torres.
Okay. I'll go. We'll just go down the line. It's fine.
I'm Melissa Lawton.
Rochelle, do you want to go?
Oh, sorry. I'm Rochelle Tolley.
And I'm Sydney Gallagher.
And I'm Shay Peck. All right. So Rochelle, we just kind of are talking about the first question. What did you learn about persuasive speaking in Taylor? I'm probably saying it wrong. Molly or Mally's speech.
Okay. Have you guys all
We've all kind
said
of
your
mentioned, yeah. I don't know if you want to add to it, or we can go on to the next one.
I just thought it was sad because I saw part of that reflected in me, that too often we don't speak with conviction because, I don't know, it's like I feel afraid to take a firm stance on anything vocally or outwardly because I don't want to offend anyone. I don't, you know, we all kind of tiptoe, and about that, learning to speak with conviction, you can still do it kindly, but yeah, to stop sounding like we're questioning everything.
Yeah. That's so true. Okay, we will go on to the next one. So, what principles of effective speaking from writing and speaking persuasively did you see in each speech? So this is the speeches of Advocate 1 was against same-sex marriage, and then Advocate 2 was for it. So do you guys want to like talk about Advocate 1 and go through the questions, or do you kind of want to do both? Like, do you get what I'm saying?
I think we can
Or
do
like
both.
do both.
Just do both.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just start the first one. So like what principles did they have in each speech? So let's kind of start with Advocate 1, I guess, the first video.
Okay.
Okay. So what did you guys think he did well?
I thought the first one spoke really confidently, and he was able to list scriptures off. So he obviously, like, he sounded like he knew the Bible really well.
Yeah.
And he sounded authoritative and strong. So those I thought were good points that he had.
Yeah. That's exactly what I put. I just put his tone of voice was very strong. Like he definitely, that part I would say he was convincing. But other than that, I didn't really catch anything else.
Yeah, he'd done his homework. It was impressive that he knew his Bible so well and that he could quote scripture. But I was thinking that doesn't hold weight with people who don't really believe in the Bible, which is probably most of the people in there that he was talking to.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
Yeah.
For me, I felt I wasn't persuasive because I didn't like the scripture that he chose. I feel that he focused so much on the like in a God, like an anger God, like a God that you just see the bad thing, like intolerant God. You know, all the things that he's like, oh, you know, he's gonna do this to you, bad people, and like instead of showing, you know, like the like probably the scripture that shows why family is important, why you know marriage between a man and a woman can help, you know, children and family. I feel that was just like lecturing with the scriptures and kind of like looking at his notes, like kind of had sometimes lost a little bit. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go
I
ahead,
thought
sorry.
he was persuasive because he seemed confident on the material. Like I remember thinking like, oh, he knows his stuff. Like if I was up there, I'd be like flipping through like, hey, give me a second, let me find it. But I didn't even think about that. So, like his audience, I mean, probably wouldn't be very knowledgeable. Well, I can't guess, but I mean, maybe Bible stuff wouldn't be the most persuasive thing for the audience.
Yeah.
So I didn't even think of that. So maybe that wasn't as effective as I thought.
I agree with Julia. It did come across very close-minded, very narrow-minded, very just like damning, like, you know, Bible Belt. And I feel like it makes it easier for the people opposing him to just sweep it under the rug as ignorance or closed-minded or bigotry, rather than, you know, having a broader argument that, I don't know, a wider audience could relate to.
Yeah. I can't remember. We watched the video of, it was like the super long video we had to watch this week. I can't remember her name. But I think she mentioned like don't use religion at all in your when you're being persuasive, and that's one thing that caught me. I'm like, that's all he talked about. Like he didn't include anything else. So
Yeah, he didn't mention any statistics or data or even
Yeah.
personal story.
Yeah, it was hard to connect with him.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
I think that was the hardest part, was that it was all the scriptures say don't do it, but there was no reasons. It wasn't because, like Julie was saying, because the family is important. It's just because God said so. Well, if I
Yeah.
don't believe in God, then that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like he only had one leg to stand on, and once you sweep that leg out, there was
Yep.
nothing else.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Okay. We will go, so the same thing, what principles did you notice in the advocate too, like that were effective in his speaking? Yeah.
I felt like he did all the stuff that, is it Marcia Barlow, that she went
Yeah.
through, like the personal story and how it applies to all of us, because we all know people in those situations, and then what steps we should take. Like we should be pro any family because he had a good family and it applies to all of us. He went through all of those steps like Marcia did. I felt like he wasn't as confident as the first speaker, but his personal story kind of overcame that. Like it made it more important, even though his speaking ability I didn't think was as good.
Yeah.
I agree, but I think that made him come across as a little more humble and a little more human and relatable, because he was, I don't know, it wasn't like a pounding the pulpit thing. It was, you could see, I don't know, his personality.
Yeah, like you could tell he had passion about it, but it wasn't like, yeah, like, I don't know what the word is, but yeah. I thought pretty much everything you guys have said already. I thought I could connect with him really well. And I thought most of the time, like, he didn't even look down at his notes, where the other guy kind of looked down at his notes quite a bit. He, like, and I guess most of it was his own personal story, so it was easier, but I really liked that he had it memorized. Like, you could tell it was something he really, really cared about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for a person that it will be in defense, if I, like didn't have the gospel knowledge, I could be persuade because, like, I don't know, I don't really have friends or relatives that are going through that. So, and I haven't really also like study or do any research about like the consequences of the kids. But like he didn't bring any data or research, but he like kind of present himself as like proof that
Yeah.
that kids can grow up just fine. Like he used a lot of emotional stuff, like how, when he mentioned like to the judge or the person that was there, like, oh, you, if I was your son, you would be proud of me or whatever. So
Yeah.
like he used that as a persuasive tool. So for me, I kind of like him, just like looking in the just of him being persuasive, not much as the topic that he was using, because like we have the gospel and we understand that that's whatever, however you present it, it shouldn't,
Right.
not right. But my personal opinion, I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's how I
thought
felt.
clever, because how can you argue with that? That's his personal story, his personal experience, and it's not like with data where you can say, well, another study proved this, or I mean, anyways, I thought it was clever, because how can you argue with any of those things that he said about family
Yeah.
being about love? Anyways, I thought he did a good job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did too.
it's kind of how I felt because like going into it, I already had my stance on it, so I was kind of like, well, let's just see what's gonna be said. But like the way he appealed to like the humanity in people, I think was more effective than like, I don't know, even if he had like the statistics, like he found a way to get people to like connect to him. And so yeah, like I know where I stand on it, but like I could see how if people were kind of trying to figure out like how that could persuade them better than the first speaker.
Yeah. That is exactly how I felt. Okay. We'll go to the next. We kind of talked about them all, but we'll just keep going. So, what was the basis or premise for each speaker's stance? So for the first one, I honestly was kind of confused because he just kept throwing out like scriptures, and I was like, okay, Like, I don't know where you're really coming. I actually had to look and like, is this the one that he's against same-sex marriage? Like, I don't know. I was just confused because he was just throwing out all sorts of random things. So I was like, what in the world? But obviously he was saying that like God's against it, and that was like his premise. Did you guys get anything else?
Just fear. He played a lot on fear.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So what about the second one? What was his premise for his stand or his speech?
Well, it seems like the first one, his like basis and stance was the Christian morality of, and like it's wrong because the Bible says it's wrong. And then the second one seems that it was more just about love, like two people that love each other and they make a family. It's just more about that personal connection. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he used a lot of emotional stuff with his own experience, and the other one was just straight from a scriptural basis.
Yeah. I also kind of got one thing, I think he stated this, or I don't know if I just kind of thought of this, but he just mentioned like how his family with two moms isn't that much different than our families because of, like you guys said, the love and the commitment they have to each other, which I was like, yeah, that's true. Like how he turned out, he seems just the same as like anyone else. So I like that. Okay. We'll go on to the next one. So if you were on the fence when it comes to same-sex marriage, how do you feel after listening to each speech? Kind of talked about this. Do you guys want to answer this again, or?
I was like bummed out that the person, arguing the other case did such a better job. I'm like, gosh, I almost want to go, yeah.
Yeah.
You could see the audience like pouting and making like, yeah. And the other one like silence.
Yeah, they were so just quiet. I noticed that the girl in the background of the second speaker, she was just like nodding her head to everything he had to say. And before with the first one, she just was like just staring at him. I was like, that is so awkward.
I did feel like, just because I'm a statistics person, I like those stats. I felt like with the second guy, I mean, he definitely appealed to my emotions, and or the first guy, the pro same-sex marriage, and like he was positive and kind and like it was relatable. But I was thinking, okay, that's great that it worked for you, but I know a lot of people who are an exception to whatever rule. So I was still kind of looking for some data. I think if he would have had a little bit, that would have definitely been more persuasive. But overall, I would probably go for the pro same-sex also.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that. I definitely agree. If he had more data, that would have helped too. But yeah, I was definitely, from this, I was for same-sex. Okay. Okay, what was less effective about each speech? So we kind of mentioned this.
Well, yeah, like she mentioned, not having some statistics, maybe
Yeah.
for the pro argument to kind of round it out. And then the first one, just, I don't know, he didn't really have much of a personality, and the looking through the notes a lot did seem a little, like, unprepared, I guess. Or, like, I don't know, it was weird because he was so confident in his speaking, but then he was always, like, looking at stuff, so, I don't know.
Yeah,
like a mixed message.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one, like he didn't do any of those things that from Marsha Barlow's talk or Marshall Glantz or whoever gave that to us. Like he didn't have a story of self. There's no personal experience or observation. There's no story of us, like what we should do. And there was no story of like, now what are we going to do about it? Because the things they stated from the Bible, obviously we're not going to go out and just kill these people. Like there was no call to... or like where do we go from here now? Like now what do we do? And so I felt like he didn't hit any of those points.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I feel like the second one kind of did.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay. We will go on to the articles now. So we're kind of doing the same thing. So what principles of effective writing from writing and speaking persuasively did you see in both articles? So the first one was the why education hasn't been improved over the last 50 years. And the second one was about porn. So I guess we can kind of start with the first one. What principles did you guys notice in the article about education?
Well, it seems like really kind of just sterile and boring, and I don't feel like it really explained why there wasn't, like, I didn't feel like there was a lot of meat to the article. It was
Yeah.
just,
No, when I started reading it, I eventually just started skimming because I was so bored. I was like, this is
yeah.
awful. But there was definitely, it was like almost overwhelming too because it seemed like they had a lot of like stats, but that's all it was. Like it was just really, there was no real like point to it.
Yeah, there's no like personal-ish story to show like, people or kids being affected by like all these
Yeah.
statistics to like tie it in, because you read all this and you're like, okay, how does that play out in everyday life? So yeah, like you, I was kind of like, okay, like, I just gotta get through this.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is totally my homeschool background, but I was like, yes, this is awesome. Because I love statistics and I love school choice, but only because I'm already passionate about that topic. And I have personal experience with all of it. But if you don't already have your own personal experience, you're right. It is just statistics and boring.
Well, I thought that was good,
I'm glad.
how it talked about school choice, but it didn't like bring it back home. Like I didn't feel like it weaved it through strong enough, like as a call to action or anything. It was just like, anyway.
You're right. It's just for me, I go, yeah, you're right. So we should vote for school choice and we should vote for like, so in my head, it's already there. But if you don't have that background, you're right. It's not in the article.
Yeah.
So the audience, I
think
guess,
that,
like if you're aiming for, Oops, sorry.
I think that one of the things that, like she did cover, or the article covered, like was the call to action almost at the end, it's like, oh, we should give more power to the parents and instead of the federal government. So one of the, like that things that, like make a persuasive article is also, have that, but I think it was too small, like not too small, like too weak, that call for action to do something. Like even though she mentioned, or it was mentioned, it was too weak for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. We will go on to the one about porn. So what did you guys see that was effective in this article?
I think like the personal stories always, like it can appeal to your emotions, and then like, oh wow, it does affect, or how like it affected the person. So I think that had a strong like a component to the persuasive, because the stories is usually a connection to the audience, or people can like understand more experience that they share. So I think that that was a strong tool that it was used. But
Yeah.
also I didn't see a lot of like persuasive, like a call for action to do something about it. So like how we can help prevent it, or
Right.
things like that.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I liked how there was a story because it engaged me into the article. I'm like, oh, where are they going to go with this? And I also thought they did a pretty good job about, I think they had some data in there. Can't remember exactly what, but that's what I put. So, but I thought they did good that way with the article.
I think it's a topic that more people can relate to, maybe than like the education one, just because it's something that is coming up more, not even like in religious circles, but like you're kind of seeing like with the Porn Kills Love site, like they bring up statistics and research stuff, and they're definitely spreading it to more people. So I think the topic kind of helps it be a little more effective just in its own, and then the stories kind of reinforce that. because you
Yeah.
see like how it personally affects people. But yeah, then it doesn't really like give you much to do to like, you know, help with it, or, you know. So I mean, it is more effective in a way, but yeah, I mean, it was easier to read than the first one. So.
Well, she kind of called out society on it for like everybody having such a casual attitude towards it, to maybe step up and be more aware. And I don't know if we were supposed to read all the little blurbs underneath her story, but I thought it was interesting that they share different perspectives, that it not only affects a female's body image, you know, from having this experience, but men who watch porn also have lower body, you know,
Mhm.
I don't know, you know, and gay men and straight men, and it kind of branched out to where it included a very broad audience in that. And I thought that was good, because so often porn has been a man's problem, and so to hear it from a woman's perspective, and especially how shocking that was at 8 years old,
Yeah.
to really open up this, to make the audience see that this affects everyone, that this is a far-reaching broad thing. I don't know, I thought they did a good job with that.
Yeah.
I agree. I felt like there was the personal story, and then I did read the second part. So then that was the how it applies to all of us, the story of us, and then and then you're right. There's not really a specific call to action. I think the goal is to make people aware so that they choose to stay away from it, to help their family stay away, to make better choices. But it's more implied. It's not specifically stated.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think like it's important that, you know, like that now is not about like people don't do it, like for them to let us know, oh, you know, you shouldn't do it because of this or this and that, because it's so now like um a strong danger, that instead of like just doing that, I think they need to focus more on like what you're gonna do when, you know, that happens. Because like, you know, the pop-ups, you don't protect, you know, your things, or talk to the kids about that, because they can be, your house can be so protected, but as soon as they leave it, you know, they go to a friend, they go to like anybody else's house, and if they just happen to doing some homework in somebody else's house, and it pops out, like that, they are aware what to do about it. It's no more
Yeah.
now like how to prevent it, and what, you know, why you shouldn't do it. But it can happen now because it's so common and so like, you know, bad, like this like plague that is, you know, growing so fast, that yeah, we need to just uh, tell them like what they need to do, you know, when that happens.
Yeah. That's so true. That's a great point. Okay. So the next one is, what was the basis or premise for each author's stance? So for the education one, what did you guys think their basis was, or premise?
The
That the
person,
government is failing at improving education, and that, I don't know, maybe parents need to step up and take a bigger role. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the federal government isn't, because once again, it's because I know this topic. It's not because it's stated in there. What they're saying is the federal government shouldn't be involved. Like, because before that, there was still education, but it was on a state level. And they're saying since the federal government has taken it over, it hasn't done any good. But you do kind of have to be familiar with that topic.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely confused about what I was reading. I knew that obviously education hasn't been improved over the last 50 years because of the title. And I did see that it said Americans have spent $2 trillion on education and it hasn't done anything. And that kind of surprised me. So, yeah, like you guys said, obviously. Yeah.
yeah, and like, you know, like they were like these kinds of speeches or writings need to be done like with you know, having in mind that it won't go to people that know about it, or, you know, like they need to do it with basic knowledge, so that people that, like me, that don't have the knowledge about it. So I understand, like easy, like I would say, like simple, make it like simple so people, the audience can understand and really be persuasive, and instead of throwing so many terminology and like, I don't know, like too professional language that is like so hard to understand. You get bored and you don't get perceived at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's something I've thought about because my husband will probably be going to grad school in Arizona, and unfortunately, education in Arizona is not great. And I know a lot of people that homeschool, and so I've been thinking about that. And this article, kind of made me want to research it more, but I did feel a little confused in how. So just from the article, but it did make me think, well, maybe I should be more like proactive about this before he reaches that age. And so it was good in a way of like bringing it to my attention, but it wasn't great at like helping me figure out where to go from there.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess you've already kind of mentioned this one too.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Okay, so what was the premise for the porn article? I mean, I guess we kind of mentioned this. Like, I think both guys and girls are both affected by porn.
And that it starts early. We need to be aware of how early it starts.
Yeah.
I loved it because I don't know. I hope this was like what their stance was, but I feel like for years we have this culture that if a man doesn't look at porn or doesn't think porn is cool, there's like the stigma that he's not manly enough. Like, and it's kind of been this culture of, well, it's natural and normal and everyone does it, jump on the bandwagon. And I love that this group shows that you can have logical reasons that you can still be manly, like that there is a good reason not to look at porn, and gives people, I don't know, data or material to see that they're not alone in fighting this and that there are harmful effects, and
Yeah.
porn isn't what the culture has taught us it is. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so this was oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So a personal insight I had while reading that was, and it just doesn't really relate to the questions, but I thought it was really, really helpful article because my daughter's in high school, and there's a lot of high schoolers around here that deal with depression and suicidal thoughts. There was a girl that just committed suicide in the high school. Like anxiety and depression are rampant, and they are affecting all these teenagers' lives. And so people are asking, like all the parents are asking, why is it so prevalent? What's going on now that it's so prevalent? And it made me think, well, maybe that's at least part of the answer, is because porn is so prevalent. And like Rochelle was saying, all guys are supposed to do it. It's natural. It's normal. Well, then it's creating this culture where people feel like I'm never going to be enough.
Yeah. That's so true.
And I don't have any research on that, but it makes me want to do research on what is there a correlation there or not.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be interesting to find out. I mean, I'm sure that you could do a study somehow, and I'm sure there is probably studies done, but that would be interesting to research. Okay, so if you were on the fence when it comes to these topics, how would you feel after reading their articles? So with the education one, how do you guys feel about it now?
I don't know if I'd be more persuaded to like pick a side, but I was more persuaded to like learn more about it where I could understand it better. Because I think it's important. So I'm kind of leaning towards, well, maybe this is a thing, but I don't feel like I've learned enough to really decide.
I agree.
Yeah.
I thought what they said was true. Oh yeah, I totally agree. But I don't feel like supercharged to pursue it. Yeah, that's true. All right.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. I was like, I kind of want to do something because that's not good, but I kind of felt more overwhelmed and was like, what do I do?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's true. Like they lack the call for action is a specific thing that they were their goal of that speech. To be more clear. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. We will go on to the porn one. So, how did you guys feel after reading this one?
I felt like it was powerful because it gave the personal experience and the other data that I know that same company has come to give speeches in our local high schools in the area. And it's been effective for the kids. I mean, it's not on that specific article, but those same viewpoints for kids who maybe aren't even on the fence, but are more on the pro-porn side. It has made a difference for them. And I thought it was powerful, and it would persuade me.
Yeah. That's how I felt too. It definitely made me want to do something.
I think that's some of the things that make persuasive, even though it's lacking some of the things to like make complete. It doesn't cover all of the things that make a persuasive writing, but it has some elements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think
No, go ahead, Sid.
okay. If I was on the fence, 'cause it's kind of hard to think about that because I'm very like anti one. But I think if I was on the fence, I do think this article would make me feel like it's more damaging than good. I mean, there's not like tons of like, this is what it does to your brain kind of stuff, but it might prompt me to look more into it, just off these personal stories.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing, Sydney. I feel like they did a good job of reframing it. That it would, even if somebody was pro porn, it would make them pause and see it from a different perspective. So.
Yeah. Okay, the last one, and then I think we are good. So, what was less effective about each article? Which you kind of said, I guess. The education one didn't have any story or way for you to really connect personally. Did you guys have anything else on that one?
Well, kind of like what Julia said real quick, just like the language was super technical and it might be hard for people to follow. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know what the intended audience was, but like just for me, I was like, okay.
Yeah,
that's stuff true. I don't get. But.
Yeah, that's good. And then what about the porn one? I thought they did really good. Like I had a hard time thinking about anything. I guess we kind of mentioned that they didn't really have like a specific call to action or to do something, but was there anything else you guys thought of?
They probably could use some more data, but I mean, I feel like they were just going mostly for emotions. So I think they did a good job in what they were going for.
Yeah, totally agree. Okay, I think we are good and we can do the summary now.
Mm-hmm. All right. I have a lot of notes this time. So from the Taylor Molly, we said that what we learned from his speech was that he used examples instead of just lecturing, and that he spoke poorly on purpose, and so that was able to help us understand what he was trying to say. We learned that we should stand up for what we believe, be more engaging, that we often don't speak with conviction because we don't want to offend, and a lot of us saw ourselves in what he was saying. All right, the principles from persuasive articles and writing speech that were in each of the speeches. So in the first one that was anti-same-sex marriage, we felt like he had a strong tone and he knew the Bible well, but overall his argument didn't hold weight, and that all he presented was an angry God and closed-minded, and he wasn't basing his argument on his audience. For the second video that was pro same-sex marriage, we felt like he was relatable, had good personality, he connected, he was passionate but not overwhelming, that we could be persuaded if we were on the fence, but that he could have used a little more proof. For the basis or premise of each of their speeches, we said the first one was based on religion and fear, and the second speech was based on love and personal experience and emotion. We said if we were on the fence, we would probably do pro same-sex marriage. The things that were less effective were the first video, he could have used more personality and not looked at his notes, and the second one could have added more facts. Okay, so from the articles, I'm going to kind of combine some of this stuff. Okay, so for the education article, it was kind of boring. There was lots of stats, but a weak call to action, and it wasn't personal. And someone who wasn't familiar with that topic wouldn't be able to relate very well. The second one, the porn one, had a good personal story. Not really a call to action. That was more implied. That would have been more powerful if it had a call to action. If we were on the fence on education, we might be looking for more information on it, but not necessarily persuaded. Whereas the porn one, if we were on the fence, we felt like because of the reframing that we would be persuaded to be anti-porn, or at least reconsider our actions. So that's pretty much it.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we're good then.
Okay. Then, start the broadcasting.